Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.
What's going on, Bills Mafia? Welcome to another episode of ISO Block with Ruben Brown. Of course, it's brought to you by Bet Online and Believe in Bills. We got the legend himself in the building, as always, Mr. Ruben Brown. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm great. I'm awesome. I'm excited. You know, football is really it's jumping right now, man. The game last night was exciting with the Kansas City Chiefs, and so I'm excited about the upcoming game with the Bills playing the Chiefs. I mean, the two best teams in the NFL.
Absolutely. A really, really big game coming up this week. Like you said, two best teams in the NFL. And they were headed for a collision course, of course, in the regular season, because it was on the schedule, but probably headed towards another collision course sometime in January. We'll see what happens. But first of all, let's kind of take a rewind, step back before we go to Kansas City. Let's just take another sneak peek back at week 5, right? We know Josh Allen had crazy stats. You know, he had 424 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 130 plus passer rating. You know, he had a great game, right? And he was actually at the top of the list as far as QB performances goes in the QB index. So do you think Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL right now?
Right now, he is. He's playing like it. He's playing with way more confidence than any of the other quarterbacks in the league right now. Rodgers and Brady aren't close. The other guys that are making it competitive as far as, you know, challenging him as one of the top quarterbacks in the league, I mean, the next on the list is Patrick Mahomes, you know. And then after that, everybody else is, you know, hit or miss. You can make a strong argument for them in some cases, but none of them match up to the consistency that Josh has put down for the first 5 weeks of this season. And you can even say in their loss, he was still carrying the team on his back. So
he absolutely was.
Yeah, Josh is the guy. He's the top guy in the NFL.
He leads the league in yards. He leads the league in touchdowns. I mean, it's really unarguable at this point, if you will. You know, as far as quarterbacks go, because like you said, Rodgers and Brady aren't even close as far as this season goes. You look at Pat Mahomes, his numbers aren't as good, but he's playing at a very high level. And after that, it's really, Lamar's playing at a high level, but he has had a few bad games. And then, of course, Jalen Hurts, but he needs a little more on his resume before we can consider him in that echelon. But he's playing really, really well, which leads to the question. Bro, do you think it's him that is carrying our offense, or do you think it's just because he has like this large array of weapons at his disposal?
Yeah, I see everyone debating this, and I debated this myself. I was trying to, as I watched the games, I'm like, is Josh just getting the ball to a lot of good athletes that, Brandon Beane and the organization, Coach McDermott have chosen to put on the team around him. And so Josh is just passed around to just a bunch of great athletes. But as I look at it a little closer, I look at it more now as after even having the loss and also having my hang-ups with running the ball, and desire for them to run more and see someone else run the ball other than Josh. I'm gonna say now, this team is all on Josh Allen's back, hands down. I mean, because he's throwing the ball at Gabriel Davis. He's throwing that ball to Isaiah. Stephon Diggs is a given. You know, Dawson Knox goes out. They find someone else for him to throw the ball to. He's hitting all his receivers on the field. All they got to do is catch it. And if they make an extra effort play afterwards, all right, that's kudos. But the heavy lifting for this offense, this team, is Josh. And where I say he's doing the heavy lifting, other than, standing tall in the pocket and delivering the ball to multiple receivers, he's not just leaning on Stephon to win the game, a la, I would say, if you're looking at a team like that has Cooper Kupp on it. You follow Cooper Kupp, stop him, you pretty much going to be in the game. Kelsey out in Kansas City, who we're going to end up facing. That's their main target. Main guy you count on. They forcing it into him. He's going to get it several times now. He didn't have a lot of yards in this game just recently, but he had a lot of catches for a touchdown. Whereas Josh, he's going to hit everybody. You open, if the defense is not playing Josh properly, he's standing tall in that pocket and with confidence, even though the offensive line isn't the greatest, but they're doing a stand-up job for him because they know, give him enough time, he's stand up in there, he's going to drop a dime on you. Or if he gets in a situation where everything's on the line, he's going to pull it down and run it. He's going to do a John Elway. He'd do a better job than what Kyler Murray did when they had the game on the line, and Kyler rushes the ball. He rushed, but he goes down too soon. I don't think Josh ain't that type of guy. Josh might lower his shoulder and run somebody over. We know he'll jump over him. But I think if he had to, he'll do a John Elway head first, get the first down, touchdown, whatever it takes. So this makes me start to respect Josh 10 times more. I think the guy is carrying more on him than any other player in the NFL. Everyone else has help, and they talk about the help that they have and the weapons. Yeah, Josh has got Diggs, but Josh has got his arm and his toughness, and that's what's setting him up above everyone else in the league right now.
So it's interesting. We talked about how Josh has the best stats in the NFL. We talked about how Josh now, of course he has Stephon Diggs and he's a bona fide superstar. But outside of Stephon Diggs, there's no really great target, let's say. Gabriel Davis is special, and we see him, and we need to see a little bit more from him, but he is trending towards special, but it's like you said, but it's mostly Josh because he can do it with his arm. He does it with everyone out on the field, and he also does it with his legs. You said now that he is carrying more on his shoulders than anybody else in the NFL, yet somehow he still has the best stats in the NFL. You know what I mean? So, we talked about being a quarterback, but do you think Josh is the best player in the NFL, bar none?
He's at the top of the list. He's definitely in the top. I would say there's probably top 5 at their position, and he's it. If people can argue, the young and up-and-coming quarterbacks, they can argue Patrick Mahomes. They can argue Aaron Rodgers because of MVP. This year, Josh is going to get the MVP. He's hands down going to get the MVP. He's a front runner. He's doing all the things that an MVP does because an MVP elevates the play around you. All right. And who cannot deny that Josh clearly is I'll go to the offensive line. He's definitely elevating the play of the offensive line, a la making them look better than what they collectively are right now, today. Because I believe our offensive line get healthy, it's going to improve, and this confidence they have is only going to help them. Josh Allen is the cause of that. He's the reason for them, giving them the opportunity to improve, develop, and get better for him. Receivers, the sky's the limit. I mean, it'll take us all day to run through the different guys and their stats with all of these guys, these Dawson Knox and all of these guys, even the running backs out of the backfield, receiving yards, receiving catches and touches that all of these guys are getting. And they're not struggling to get the ball to them. Josh is putting it on them, or putting it where they can be what we brought them in to be, a good receiver. Catch the ball gets near you, bring it in, fight for it, make your quarterback look good, because he's doing the tough part of, he's got people swimming around him, blitzes going different everywhere, and he's being able to stand tall in that pocket. And that's something that's really hard to, I would say, build a tolerance for. Timing in the pocket and being confident in it. And knowing, I'm sure, I don't want to keep going over to the O-line and say, they ain't that good. They improving. They're not the best offensive line in the league, but they're good enough, and they're improving. But Josh having the toughness and the confidence that he has, it's improving them. It's rubbing on them, because I'm sure I'm an O-lineman. I see that type of play standing behind me, I'm gonna want to even give more effort to try to keep him clean, keep him safe, to keep him passing the ball down the field. And I go back to, that's why I asked more running plays by the running backs, because I don't want to see our quarterback get hit unnecessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting what you said about the offensive line is how he makes them look better, because he does. If you have a statue in the pocket, it looks 10 times worse than when you have Josh Allen, because he can break multiple tackles. He can evade defenders. He can just shake people off, to be quite honest. And when there's not a negative play, when there's a negative play, people look at blame. For blame to be placed somewhere. Oh, you missed your block, so we got a sack on the play. But if Josh Allen stiff arms the defensive end and runs away and then throws 40 yards down the field, nobody cares that you missed your block. And I think that really changes the perception that one could have, on a offensive line. So that's a really good point. So talking about the best players in the world, we're gonna have to face another one coming this Sunday, right? When we go ahead and go to Arrowhead Stadium for a Kansas City game. Looking at KC, right? Did you get an opportunity to check out the KC Raiders game?
Yeah, I watched the game. I watched it. And
what were your thoughts on KC?
I can't wait for the Bills to whip their butt, because that is not going to work against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills been in different type of dog fights than what the Raiders gave Kansas City, for sure. I mean, how slow Kansas City started before they figured to get it going, not going to work with Buffalo, because go back and look at the stats. Just last week, and then there's different teams, but they're NFL teams. The Bills, every game, have come out and scored on the opening drive. You score on the opening drive, and you don't answer that against the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City, they coming back, they're going to score again. and they go score. And if they take a break, trust me, it's only going to be one break, and then they're going to come back and score again.
Right.
You know what I mean? So before you can get to one, they're going to be at two if you're not careful. And that's a huge task for Kansas City. I think, and watch it, I always, when I watch the teams, I try to be objective as if I'm like an impartial person. I'm not rooting for the Bills. I'm not rooting against the Bills. But I'm going to look at the game and say, okay, what are the things that's going to give this team a chance to win? Or what are the things that they may have in happening with them that could cost them to lose? That's it. I don't mess with nothing else. And it's just straight football stuff what I'm looking at, you know. And I can read in on, you know, attitude and confidence of the team. I can read some of the signs that I see out there. And man for man, the Bills got the better personnel, definitely on offense, than Kansas City does. So that stacks up against them. Defensive wise, we're clearly way ahead of them defensively, you know.
Well, Rue, to be honest, you could have said all this last year, but they came out into the playoffs and they got it done. They got the W. So what's different this year? What would have changed that?
Special teams. Nobody is thinking about it, but you special teams. Do y'all know their situation right now with kickers?
Yeah. They have Matthew Wright, I believe his name is.
And they just brought him in. They brought him in. And before that, when the starting kicker got hurt, after the starting kicker got hurt, he had to use the safety to kick the field goal.
Yep.
You know, he made one, he missed one. All right. So they've had to go out and find a kicker on the street. That could in these types of games, a field goal, a missed field goal is all it's going to be. 1 point and an inch is going to be this game right here. I believe it could get blown out. Bills could blow Kansas City out. They're poised to blow Kansas City out. I'm calling something that ain't nobody calling. I'm saying the Bills are poised to blow Kansas City out. Just for the simple fact, Kansas City is not going to start fast. They're not going to start fast. It's going to take them a minute to get going. And if you mess around with that defense that we have over there, Leslie Frazier, they're going to take them to task.
What would you say to someone who told you that Andy Reid is not thinking about the Broncos, he's not thinking about the Raiders, he's not thinking about the Chargers in the offseason? He is setting his team up so that he can beat the Buffalo Bills because that's really his only competition in the AFC right now as it stands, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say that his entire game plan, the entire offseason, is figuring out how I'm going to beat the Buffalo Bills? Yeah. Do you think that changes, you know, like maybe he has something for the Bills that he hasn't shown yet, or, you know, maybe he's going to put more emphasis on certain things because he knows, you know, where the Bills offense is comfortable and he's watched the film, or, you know, do you think that changes anything, the type of game plan that he could put forth?
Yeah, I think it's going to force him to not throw as much. Now, we all know historically, Andy Reid's been called a coach that likes to pass the ball a lot. A lot of his stuff is in the passing game, and it's dangerous passing stuff the way he designs it up. And you've never really seen him do much running. I mean, I think LaShawn McCoy was his runner at one time.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, he ain't really forced the run issue. You know, I think that is the only aspect that he could throw into the game plan because that's part of slowing Josh down. You know, eating up clock, holding on to the ball, staying on the field. And, you know, because I think Andy playing everybody else. It's just, all right, we got 60 minutes. Patrick, we're gonna figure out a way Patrick's gonna just score more touchdowns than them.
Yeah.
That's the game plan. We gonna score more touchdowns. We don't know how it's gonna go, how defense is gonna play, but we're gonna score more touchdowns than them. All right, that's on the head. Now you facing Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills last couple of years, and they don't get. And you're right. Andy is thinking about the Bills. They're the only team that's got any noise that can do anything to them, really, depth-wise, I'm saying. Any team could possibly beat them. They've had a loss. So, but the difference is, the Bills are that have formed an attitude that's dangerous for Kansas City, the hatred for them, the chip on the shoulder for Kansas City, all of these things turn into momentum for players, inspiration, things like that. Those are little unseen things that you can't predict that become a factor in the game. And you don't really know it because you're a fan, just watching the game, seeing it going. But the intent in the heart of the player is a little different. Yeah. Because they know how many losses they them had to them. They would be holding a Super Bowl trophy if it wasn't for Kansas City.
100%.
So, Kansas City needs to be very worried because I don't think, aside from players, play calling, what they've been using before to beat teams, just ain't going to happen against the Buffalo Bills.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I also think you're correct in what you said about them probably going to try to put an emphasis on the run because, the best defense is a great offense, so if you can keep Patrick Mahomes on the field and keep that time of possession rolling, the less time Josh Allen has, I think that'll bite them in the butt is we talked about it on the Believe in Bills podcast just this past couple of days. Once you get into that red zone, the field is condensed.
Yeah.
So now you can't necessarily, they're going to buckle down. They're going to put more people in the box, so you're not going to be able to run as easily. You're also not going to be able to spread the field to get people open as easily. So now you're going to have to settle for a field goal, whereas the Bills, who are explosive and they're fast paced and they want to go, they could put up 7 in a minute and 37 seconds. And now you're down 7-3. So I absolutely agree with that, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Did you have any other thoughts about this game?
I'm leaning towards a Bills blowout. I mean,
you said that
lopsided. I'm calling a Bills lopsided game. And I'm not a predictor. I even though we backed by Bet Online, I just can see it in the cards. I see it playing out that way. I see Andy Reid them messing this up because they don't know this juggernaut is about to show up in their town. It's really
you know what? People know me for speaking in hyperbole, although I don't think I speak in hyperbole. I think I just say what I think, and it just happens to heavily favor the Bills sometimes. But that's because we're a really good team. But I agree with you. I think this is kind of like the same situation as it was in the regular season last year, where we blew them out for all intents and purposes. The amount of points they had was only because the referees was, kind of in their favor for a good chunk of the game. So I actually agree with you. I think a blowout could potentially be coming. I mean, we got quotes. Jalen Ramsey said we got our ass kicked. That was the first blowout over the Rams. And then Mike Vrabel said what? He said I think he said we got our ass beat. That was the second blowout. Mike Tomlin just said we got smashed. That was the third blowout. And if you look at the Miami game, we really dominated them. We just didn't put the points on the board. They missed field goal and dropped touchdowns and things like that kind of messed us up in terms of that, but we really did. We dominated that game. The only game we have not dominated was the Ravens game, in which we dominated the second half. So Man, I have to agree. I think a really really big lopsided game is coming.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But you want to let everybody know where to follow you on social
Oh,
media.
yeah, you just catch me on my Twitter at Ruben7974. Also Instagram, same thing, Ruben7974. And we post all of this stuff. We talk football, and this is what we like to do.
Absolutely. This is your favorite segment of Believe in Bills. This is ISO Block with Ruben Brown. I'm Justice General Radford. That is the legendary Hall of Fame candidate, Ruben Brown. And we will see you guys later.
Awesome.
Go Bills.
Thanks, Justice.
Absolutely.
Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in-game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.